I'm Ben Meyer.
And I'm Rob Wright.
And this week we're going to keep on trucking with a little more Halloween goodness. Halloween has come and gone. Rob, what were you this year?
I'd rather not say, Ben.
He'd rather not say. We all know. It might have had to do with The Little Mermaid, but I'm going to assume that it was the wife's call on that one. I myself was old school Andre Agassi. Looked a little more like something from Spinal Tap, but I don't know. If the pictures find their way on the internet, I will be thoroughly embarrassed. At any rate, we wanted to talk about our top 5 scariest games, at least of recent vintage. We're not going to take it all the way back. I mean, there was Castlevania.
Castlevania wasn't scary. Sir, please.
That was a joke.
No, but there were a lot of scary games, around the time of, Nintendo 64 and PS1. But I think we're staying in the more recent, like last decade.
Probably the last decade. Yeah. So we talked about it. We came up with the top 5 we were comfortable with. Maybe not everybody here would agree, but I think there's some definite consensus choices, and maybe one or two that maybe you wouldn't consider.
There are a lot of good ones out there, so
He had a hard time. I had to fight to make it a list of 5.
Yeah, it should have been 10.
What's number 1 on our list?
I don't know if I can order them like that.
Not number 1 in terms of most scary. Just what's the first one you'd like to talk about?
I don't know. I think first one I'll probably talk about is Alien versus Predator 2. I think that's an extremely scary game. But only about a third of it is really scary because, as if you play the game, it's split into 3 different campaigns. It's got the Colonial Marines, the Predator, and the Alien. When you play as the Predator or the Alien, it's not very scary, obviously, because you're the aggressor.
Fighting human.
Yeah, you're just like going around ripping people up, and it's those parts of the game are fun, but they're not nearly as well done as the Marine campaign. The Marine campaign, you're getting it taken to you, and it's frightening. I mean, it's like being in the movie Aliens and running around with face huggers and aliens popping out, and then an occasional predator that just got those red laser sights on you, and all of a sudden, boom, you blow up. So I mean, it is exceedingly scary. There are a couple of parts.
The scariest part of that game for me was the fact that they actually made a movie based on that game.
Well, I mean, it wasn't
which is a common theme, and actually
it wasn't a very good movie. But there were a lot of great parts in that game that are definitely worth playing. So
let's talk about another one that's related to a movie as well.
Yes.
The Thing.
Yes.
The Thing, a movie by John Carpenter back in the day.
One of my favorite horror movies.
Wait, this is pretty old. Early 80s?
82.
Why that old? It makes me old. But anyway.
June of 82, I believe.
So what characteristic about The Thing put it on the list for you?
I think in the same way that I think Alien vs. Predator 2 did a good job of taking sort of the Aliens movie and replicating good parts of it. I think that The Thing, the game, did a great job of taking the source material from the movie and replicating it to the game. Sort of that claustrophobic, isolated paranoia of like these people being trapped in this Antarctic camp, and I think it did a really good job. But probably the best part about the game is that you don't really know who you can trust, and you don't know which team members are infected, and you have to go through this process of testing NPC characters in the game to make sure that they're not going to, suddenly mutate and turn into an alien creature. And it's there's some really good white knuckle moments in that game. It's a really underrated console PC title too. I mean, it's didn't get a lot of play when it first came out. But
a little under the radar.
Yeah, a little under the radar.
One that isn't under the radar.
Yes.
Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
This probably be close to consensus.
I think from what I understand, it's the highest rated survival horror game ever released. I think, according to the aggregators, the game review aggregators out there. I mean, that is the highest.
That doesn't surprise me, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the best console games I've ever played. I mean, it's fantastic. It's not entirely like frightening from start to finish. There's a lot of action sequences, and there's some parts that aren't all that scary, but it's a pretty deep game, and there's some great parts. I mean, some really thrilling, sort of zombie classic Resident Evil type situations where you've got all sorts of mutated guys coming after you, but they really, I mean, there are a couple of parts in there where they shake things up, and you're in some areas that are really well designed, really good level design, and you have these creatures coming at you from out of nowhere. And
they're not like the zombies of the
no.
I mean,
that game has a few tricks up its sleeve, and I think that the best thing that can be said about Resident Evil 4 is that it creates an atmosphere and sets a tone and just carries it from start to finish, and it's really a brilliant game.
Now, there's another one that very highly rated, but not necessarily as big a seller.
Yeah, no.
And this one's System Shock 2.
Yeah.
The spiritual forebear of
Bioshock.
Bioshock, yeah. And what makes this one puts this one on the list? Not as natural a fit as some of the other ones.
No, because I think a lot of people. I mean, this game was, I think, first and foremost when it came out, was known as being like a really good FPS.
Right.
I mean, I hadn't played it until this year, and I finally played it because I heard so much about Bioshock. I figured I should play this game first. And I mean, I think what you can say about System Shock 2 is that it kind of almost lulls you into a state where you're in an action game and you're fighting and you're shooting stuff, and all of a sudden, bam, something just like totally unexpected happens. Something pops out around the corner, and very early on in the game, there's a mood that is being set, and it's very hard to do. I mean, that's an older game. I think it's '99 that game came out.
Yeah, 99.
It's just that was. I mean, that's for a game that old. It's hard to do. I mean, it's easier to do these days with the kind of music and sound effects and graphics that you have.
Very good sound design in this game. And it was dark.
Fantastic sound.
Stuff would just kind of come at you a little bit.
Yeah,
that a lot of games imitated down afterwards.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, this game really put a focus on, the audio and the sound effects and the voice acting. And I mean, anyone who has played System Shock 2 knows what I'm talking about when I talk about the voice acting. And it's really chilling. So, thumbs up for that one.
And the last one we got on this list, maybe not the best game overall. Some people would debate that, but definitely had some nice creepy elements to it.
Yeah.
Was Fear.
Yeah.
More recent game.
Yeah.
So what was the scariest aspect about Fear for you?
Well, it kind of, I know people say that Bioshock is sort of a spiritual successor to System Shock 2, but I actually think that Fear is a little bit more like System Shock 2 in the sense that it's an FPS, and it's I think it's primarily known. I mean, people play multiplayer, and it's got great shooter gameplay mechanics. I mean, it's so much fun to play. But in a single player campaign, you're going through, you're taking out clone soldiers, and it's great action. But the whole undercurrent of the game is about like these supernatural forces that have somehow taken hold of this area, this city. And every now and again, you'll just be, plodding through, shooting bad guys up. The action will die down, and all of a sudden you'll see these phantoms, the little girl, and just really creepy stuff. And I mean that it gets to you. It kind of sets a psychological.
It does a really interesting things with kind of pacing. I think because it has that reflex time thing where the time gets slowed down except for you, and then you have the phantoms in it, and it kind of plays with your expectations a little bit.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that the expansion pack, Extraction Point, that got criticized a lot because it was fairly short. I think it was only about 6 hours. But I mean I would actually say that there are a couple scenes in that expansion pack and Extraction Point that I think might actually be scarier than what's in the original game. There's one part in particular where you're trapped in a room and the lights go out with one of your teammates, and just all hell breaks loose. And I don't want to ruin it, but it is intense. I mean, it is horrific. And again, it's not. I don't think you would call Fear a horror survival title. I mean, it's primarily known as a shooter, and it's not like consistently scary throughout the game. But when those moments do come, they're absolutely chilling. I mean, they're just great. So
that's our 5. Rob had a number of others on the list. I wanted to throw Spice World in there.
Not Spice World. Not scary like that. But, there's other games like, Silent Hill, the original, very, very moody. A lot of people say Silent Hill 2 is better. I don't know about that, but Fatal Frame 2, excellent game. Very, Japanese horror movie type, J-horror. Eternal Darkness.
I didn't know the nickname J-horror.
J-horror.
Sounds like a baseball player.
No. But Eternal Darkness, another game that we talked about in our Unsung Games. Fantastic horror survival game. So there's a lot of good ones out there. A lot of good ones.
But that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Ben Meyer.
And I'm Rob Wright.
And we'll see you next time.